Hey everybody, it's Michelle, and today we're going to be talking about communities of inquiry. Before we get started, let's go ahead and make sure everyone understands how to access the basic WebEx controls. First, let's do a quick show of hands. If you can hear me, just click the little hand icon along the bottom of your WebEx screen there. There we go. Good. Go ahead and click that again to shut that function off. Everything that I mentioned here on this slide, if you click it once, it'll turn it on or open the window. If you click it again, it'll shut it off or close the window. Okay. So let's go ahead and open our participants pane there in arrow number 1. Okay. Make sure that's going. And then go ahead and also open your chat window in arrow number 2. And if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and mute your microphone by hitting the arrow in number 3. Okay. If you need to talk or whatever, go ahead and unmute yourself, say what you need to say, or ask whatever question you have, and then go ahead and mute yourself again. I see that everyone's video is on. I like to see that, but if you need to step away, go ahead and shut your video off. That's there in arrow number 4. And then if you prefer the closed captioning on, go ahead and hit that in arrow number 5. Before we get started, we each have some tasks to take care of. Your tasks, of course, are to remove distractions. So shut your door, turn off your phone, ask others not to disturb you, just so you can focus on today's class. My tasks are to verify that the screen is being recorded. I see that it is up there with the red dot in the upper right-hand corner. So far, the slides seem to be moving properly, so I'm just going to go ahead and go with that, and you all can hear me. So I'm sure that my audio is working. All right. So our big idea today, we're going to discuss how the community of inquiry and its framework lead to deeper learning experiences. Additionally, we'll compare surface and deep learning and discuss the two main principles of deep learning. All right, so time for a very quick chat activity. Go to the chat box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and type your response to this prompt. Throughout your education, which teaching, learning, study techniques seem to help you learn and retain information best, and why? And for my virtual students, please include your response to the prompt in your Miss Class summary. Okay, flashcards, good. So you've got some retrieval practice going on, Colleen. Nice. Same with Morgan. Okay, good. I'm also a big fan of flashcards. So very interesting that you both said the same thing. Nicely done. All right, before we go any further, let's go ahead and look at our learning objectives. After this conference, you'll be able to define community of inquiry, also known as COI, including the 3 elements of the COI framework. You'll identify the characteristics of community. You'll be able to identify differences between surface and deep learning, and you'll be able to explain the 2 deep learning principles. All right, so let's talk a little bit about community of inquiry. Thinking collaboratively is best understood and practiced in a community of inquiry, or a COI. The COI framework consists of 3 interdependent core elements: social presence, cognitive presence, and teaching presence. Okay. To better understand a community of inquiry, it's useful to understand what characteristics comprise the idea of community. Okay. The main characteristics of community include common purpose, interdependence, collaboration, communication, and trust. Now, I know I just threw a lot of words at you regarding community. So here's an easy way for you to remember the characteristics of community. Over in the left column, we've got common purpose, collaboration, and communication. These are known as the 3 C's. In the center column, we've got interdependence, which is designated as I. And in the right column, we've got trust, which is designated as T. So when you're learning these, think of it as, 3 C's it, right? So if a teacher asks you, what are the characteristics of community? Just think, okay, this is how I 3 C's it: common purpose, collaboration, communication, interdependence, and trust. You might be able, it might help you when you're thinking about the three C's to notice that common, collaboration, and communication all have double letters right in the middle of the words. So that might help you remember those. Okay. So that was just a quick mnemonic device that can help you. So let's see how well the mnemonic device worked for you. So we're going to do a quick shape tool activity. And if you'll open your annotations menu, which is up in the upper right hand corner of right above the PowerPoint slide, click on that and it'll open a menu off to the left of the PowerPoint slide. That is your annotation menu. If you can go ahead and click on the shape tool, which is the one that looks like a square, click on that. And using that shape tool, draw a box around the answer below that best represents the character, or that actually represents the characteristics of community. And my virtual students, please explain which answer you would select in your Miss Class summary. Okay, I see a purple box around C, and then I see a blue box that I'm not quite sure what's happening there. Who's blue? Okay. Okay. Did it just get away from you for a second, Colleen? Okay. All right, good. Yes, C is the answer there. Common purpose, collaboration, communication, interdependence, and trust. Now, by a quick show of hands, uh, who was helped by the mnemonic device? Okay, just Morgan. Okay, good. Colleen's just that on it, apparently. Nicely done. Okay, so let's talk about the community of inquiry framework. All right. The three aspects that make up the framework of a community of inquiry are cognitive presence, social presence, and teaching presence. Cognitive and social presence influence the quality of the learning experience. However, teaching presence is also an essential condition because it's a reflection of the course's leadership. In the absence of strong leadership, even the best cognitive and social presence situations can easily veer into unproductive educational waters. Okay. So let's take a quick look at each of these presences, starting with the cognitive presence. Okay. The cognitive presence operates through the practical inquiry or the PI model, and it's the core thinking and learning element of the community of inquiry. And it's engaged when students move through the four phases of the practical inquiry model, which include the triggering event, which is our first part. Okay, the triggering event brings awareness to the issue at hand. Okay, so students in that in that event figure out, okay, here's what we're talking about today. Here's what we're dealing with. From there, we move clockwise to the exploration phase, during which students learn about, discuss, and deliberate the concepts presented. Then they move to the integration phase, okay, during which students connect the concepts from the exploration phase to their own lives in order to create personalized meaning. And then from there, we move to the resolution phase, during which students develop and implement a personalized action plan based on their understanding of the concepts they've been grappling with in their community of inquiry. Okay, so that helps explain cognitive presence a bit. Let's move on to social presence. And to achieve social presence, participants must be able to identify with the group and its purpose of inquiry before establishing free and open communication with the group, which ultimately leads to group cohesion. Now, the sense of belonging that rises from a cohesive group contributes greatly to motivation, which is essential in generating interest and directing and sustaining student effort. From there, we move on to teaching presence, which is the key to a successful and sustained community of inquiry. It consists of three progressive responsibilities: the design, facilitation, and direction of cognitive and social presences. The responsibility for assuming the teaching presence falls to all members of the community of inquiry based on their own knowledge and abilities. Each participant is responsible for constructing personal meaning as well as for helping to shape the group's discourse. So, in the teaching presence, students are not just responsible for themselves, but they're also responsible for the group members. All right, so let's check your understanding of the three presences that make up the community of inquiry framework. In the annotation menu to the left, click on the line annotation tool, which just looks like a slanted line. Okay. Using the line annotation tool, draw a line from each presence in the left column to the correct description in the right column. And again, virtual students, please explain your pairings in your missed class summary. There we go. All right, good. Good. Everybody got matched everything correctly. So nicely done. Okay, so let's take a look at our last concept here, which is surface versus deep learning. Surface learning occurs when the student takes a reproductive or rote memorization approach to learning. In other words, the student merely memorizes information and spits it back out on the test. So 10 minutes after the test is taken, the information is gone from the student's memory. I'm sure it's happened to all of us. I know it's happened to me before because, I have also been guilty of the cram. Okay. And gone instantly. It goes from my head to the paper and then it's in the ether. Okay. Deep learning, on the other hand, embeds the information in our brains and attaches it to previous information, lessons, and experiences, which makes the learning much more meaningful, powerful, and long lasting. There are two principles to deep learning. The first is that the curriculum and the workload must be reasonable to allow students the time to process information at a deep and meaningful level. Right? After all, covering an excessive amount of information or course content ensures that students will take a surface approach because they're trying to cram too much information into their brains too quickly. Okay. The second principle relates to assessment. If we want students to approach learning at a deep level, we must assess at a deep level. If assessment is based on rote recall, students will approach learning at that level. Again, it's just learn it for the test and spit it back out. But if the assessment is based on genuine understanding of the material, students will in turn engage in deeper learning. All right, so let's see what you know about deep learning here. In the annotation menu, click on the text annotation tool, and using that tool, and that's the one that is the two T's there. Okay, using that tool, write either true or false in the blue box below to answer the following question. The two principles of deep learning are assessment and content and curriculum. And again, for my virtual students, please explain your answer in the missed class summary. Okay. Colleen, are you purple? Okay. So Morgan says false. Colleen also says false. Okay, that it is false. What was the problem there? If you want to go ahead, if someone wants to go ahead and unmute themselves.
It's supposed to be content and assessment, content and workload and assessment.
Right. It's not content and curriculum, it's content and workload. Good job. Thank you. All right. So, just like they can with blended learning, business writing teachers can develop communities of inquiry in their classes. Given the collaborative nature of business writing in the real world, incorporating communities of inquiry makes sense because they allow students to approach various real world business scenarios from different angles in order to find the most feasible and effective solutions, which mimics what they'd be doing on the job. One easy way to form communities of inquiry is to assign small work groups or communities at the beginning of each term. If possible, avoid putting people who are already friends in the same group to avoid shutting down open communication among group members and accidentally fostering groupthink. Okay, putting strangers together and focusing them on a common task will place them in a position of having to work together as a group instead of having two or three people splinter off into their own comfortable faction because they're already friends. So let's talk about the benefits of the small groups. Okay. First, small groups encourage participants to develop the characters of community. So remember the I as I3 sees it, okay? So the small groups foster those characteristics. Second, the communities of inquiry created by small groups allow students to exchange ideas, sustain discourse, collaboratively construct meaning, and validate knowledge, all of which are essential when you're trying to create complex business documents. All right, so let's go ahead and do our breakout room activity. Okay, here is the scenario. Your boss has asked your group to write an email requesting price quotes from ABC Supplies for the following items: yellow 3x3 post it notes, so per 100, 25 pen boxes of Pilot Razor Point pens in green, and 200 count boxes of small ABC Supplies brand paper clips. Most importantly, though, the boss wants a per ream quote on ABC Supplies brand white copy paper. So you'll address your message to Pat Jones, inventory specialist at pjones@abcsupplies.com. So I'm going to go ahead and post the link to our Google Docs in the chat. Okay. We'll be completing this in Google Docs. So go ahead and copy that. And when I send you to your breakout rooms, access the Google Doc in your browser and write a message in the Google Doc as a team to Pat Jones requesting the quotes. Remember your writing plan for an information request message and proper email format. And then before you come back, designate one group member to present your message when we come back from the breakout rooms. Okay? All right. Now, since there are only a couple of us in here today, I don't know where the rest of class went. Apparently, it's a holiday. But since you two are the only two who showed up today, let's go ahead and have you join breakout session 1. Okay? All right. So, ready to go? See you in a bit. Okay, now all of my virtual students, please complete this assignment individually and include your message to Pat Jones in your missed class summary. And Colleen, can you go ahead and join group 1? Do you need me to send? Oh, there you go. Hey, Morgan, what's up? I can't hear you.
I said, we're ready, so I'm just waiting for Colleen.
Oh, do me a favor, hop back into the room real quick.
Okay.
I need to send you a message. Ah, All right, welcome back. All right, who's going to be presenting for us today? All right, Morgan, go ahead.
All right. So, I gotta get into our Google Doc here. Okay. So,
Do you want to share your screen?
oh,
Actually,
yeah.
I can share mine. Hang on just a second.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, let me know when you can see it.
I can see it.
Okay, go right ahead.
All right. So we addressed the email to the inventory specialist, Jones, because we didn't know Pat's gender. And then we also mentioned that the paper quote in the opening because they said it was the most important that the boss needed, and so we wanted to make sure that that was in the opening of the request.
Okay.
And then we explained why we were writing the email, and then we made sure to compliment the reader because it tends to help when they're being complimented, and we also made sure to bullet the information for easy reading.
Okay, good.
And then lastly, we included our contact information and hours to make sure that Pat could contact us when they needed to.
Okay. All right, good. Good job on this. You guys, you answered everything and you got all of the information in there. Okay, I liked how you bulleted it. I especially liked the catch about not knowing whether Pat was male or female. So nice job on that.
Yeah.
Good
Thank you.
job. All right, I'm going to stop sharing this and get back to our PowerPoint here. Okay. Oh, we just did that. Oh, in virtual students, if you could include your responses to these 3 bullet points in your Miss Class summary, just explaining uh, why you structured your message the way you did, that would be fantastic. Thank you. All right, so let's quickly review some of the concepts from today's conference, starting with community of inquiry, which combines cognitive presence and social presence for a deep and meaningful collaborative learning experience. Both the cognitive and the social are undergirded by the teaching presence, which provides the focus, curriculum, and leadership of the framework. Now, cognitive presence is the core thinking and learning element of the community of inquiry and is engaged when students move through the 4 phases of the practical inquiry model, which include triggering, exploration, integration, and resolution. To achieve social presence, participants must be able to identify with the group and its purpose of inquiry before establishing free and open communication within the group, which ultimately leads to group cohesion. Teaching presence is the key to a successful and sustained community of inquiry, and it consists of 3 progressive responsibilities: the design, facilitation, and direction of cognitive and social presences. Surface learning occurs when the student takes a reproductive or rote memorization approach to learning. Deep learning, however, embeds the information in our brains and attaches it to other information, lessons, and experiences that we've already had, which makes the learning much more meaningful, powerful, and long lasting. There are 2 principles of deep learning. The first is that the curriculum content and workload be reasonable to allow students time to process information at a deep and meaningful level. And the second principle relates to assessment. If we want students to approach learning at a deep level, we must assess at that level. If the assessment is based on genuine understanding of the material, students will engage in deep learning. Okay? All right, so now let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of Slido polls, or I'll have you complete a couple of those. Okay. When you see the poll on the right side of your WebEx screen, select your answer to the question below. Okay. So go ahead and start that. Actually, skip that question. That is a typo. Like the poll question is correct. The PowerPoint question is not correct. Ignore that. So over on the right, do you see the poll question that says, think about your experience in learning? Okay. So go ahead and answer that poll real quick.
Are we
Michelle,
just supposed to slide the thing, or
I
how
think
does this work?
voting is closed. You got to click the little, looks like a lockbox.
I was going to say it should. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that was shut like that. Okay. Interesting. It's like communication, trust. All right. Interesting. Why did you guys choose communication first? Morgan.
I think it's important that people are clear with what they're expected to do or what a group's expected to do. It kind of sets the foundation, I think, to like make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, why was interdependence last?
I don't know.
I think it's because with social presence, it moved from the realization that interdependence had to go towards community and collaboration.
Okay. Okay. All right, good. So yeah, it just was the least of them. Okay, good. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our second poll. And this one's a multiple choice. Okay. So communities of inquiry consist of which of the following? And of course, there's more than one answer. All right. Good. Yes. You got all three of those. So is the presences there, teaching, social, and cognitive. Good job. All right. And what are the triggering exploration and resolution? What are those part of? Do you remember?
The cognitive presence, practical inquiry.
Yes. Okay. Practical inquiry, which does involve the cognitive presence. Good job. All right. Let's take a look at our final poll question, which is also multiple choice. Okay. What are the two principles of deep learning? Okay. Looks like only one of you got the assessment in there. So it's content and workload is one, and then assessment is the other one. Okay. All right. Nice job. Okay. So before I let you go, does anyone have any questions or comments about anything? All right. Thank you for joining me for this conference in which we learned about the communities of inquiry. Have a great rest of your day, ladies. References. And there we go. All right.